Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
Forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight Black Mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, as my voice echoes to you across the eons and the vast nothingness of space, time, and eternity. It is I, your host, the devil you know, the maniacal minister of the occult, the dragon, the Reverend Dan Wilson, here on the Midnight Black Mass, and we are back with another no-holds-barred live edition, and the man that makes it no-holds-barred, ladies and gentlemen, the Cut Slayer himself, Andrew Alexander. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just got done watching Game of Thrones, and it was a Jaime Lannister-heavy episode, and since that nickname of yours was derived from the old Kingslayer, I thought I would drop it in there. So Andrew's been on hiatus. He was on a field assignment last week as we came to you with our producer, Fast Eddie Lane, who was the co-host, and he's here in the background, and so he's going to chime in from time to time here on this episode as well. Say hello, Eddie.
Greetings. How's everybody doing? Hope you're having a phenomenal weekend.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, Andrew, it'll tell us a little bit about what you were doing during your field assignment.
You want to start with that?
I mean, we can, but actually, no. If you've got something prepared, then I would rather hold that for just a little bit, because we got some more serious things to talk about here to kick things off. I think that would probably be safe. What about you?
I think so.
Okay. So we're in agreement there. So first things first, I want to kick off the show with a sincere, heartfelt from the cockles of our cold, dark hearts here on the Midnight Black Mass. I want to warm them up a little bit and send our sincere get well wishes to the one and only Mr. Shadow Jackson, who actually suffered a heart attack last night following his one-time come-out-of-retirement match as a benefit show for a family member of his to try to raise money for their illness. It was a cancer benefit. And so, Shadow giving his time like he always does, just being a true champion of the community. Even though he'd been retired from the ring, this one special opportunity was going to come out and gave it his all. And it was following the event, but he definitely he fell ill, and it was a scary situation. And apparently, it was a touch and go situation there for a minute. But being the tough guy and the survivor he is, of course, he hung on and he made it through. So he's now in recovery. We're told it's going to be a long road to recovery, but we just want to ask everybody there in the Midnight Black Mass family to send their good vibes out to Shadow Jackson. Thoughts, prayers, whatever you do. Him and his family need them, and will be a GoFundMe account up. I believe that one of the former associates of Anarchy, Wildside, etc., John Johnson, is behind. And if you just go to the Why We Wrestle social media, we'll make sure that's out there for you. That's Facebook.com/ThisIsWhyWeWrestle, at Twitter at Why Do You Wrestle, and on Instagram at This Is Why We Wrestle. So yeah, just shout out Hang Tough, brother. You are one of a kind, man.
that's news to me. I didn't know about any of that shit. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, you didn't. I mean, well, I guess, you kind of tune out the wrestling world on social media, which we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it's the news today, and I wasn't there present for the benefit. I just got all this information secondhand, but it was from people who were there. And, it really sucks to hear. One of the true good guys of wrestling. I mean, we've had our wars with him. Oh, and boy, he's a tough one. But, when you beat on somebody for so long, over so many years, you certainly build a respect. And you definitely learn over time beyond, what you saw in the ring, which was a fierce competitor, that he was just an all-around great human being and, and a charismatic guy who just, didn't do a lot in the ring, but didn't have to. He always had the audience in the palm of his hand. He's one of the most popular stars that ever came through that region. And, he retired on his own accord, not because he had to, but because, he'd felt his time had come to an end and he wanted to do other things in his life. And, so many guys don't get to do that. And this was just a one-off thing because he knew he still had some drawing power there and could come and help his family in the time of need. And, of course, something bad happens to him while he's doing that, and that's just, it really sucks, man, because it's like, all of these horrible human beings are out here continuing to run amok and in perfect health, and then something like this happens to Shadow Jackson. It ain't right.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, definitely one of the best men I've ever met in my time in the wrestling business or in my life in general. Just a class act. And as far as from a in-ring and a wrestling standpoint, the most over popular person I've ever worked any type of show with, hands down, no close second. I mean, he was when Shadow Mania runs wild, it's insane and deafening. The loudest reaction I've ever heard in my life. I had just been eliminated from a battle royal in Cornelia, and when his music hit and he came out, as I was laying there, I could feel the floor shaking, and it literally hurt my ears. The ovation was so loud. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I was trying to get up. I was in pain, but I literally got goosebumps and was like, holy fuck, that man is loved by people. So yeah, I definitely hope he comes back quick and makes a full recovery, and I'm sure he will.
Yeah, absolutely. Hang tough, Shadow. Hang tough. So that's a real bummer to get things. But there's a bright side. He could have done him in, and it didn't. He's still there in the hospital. He's no longer under recovery, but he's out of the woods. And so, yeah, man, one of the best. One of the best. Moving along on the show, though, not to start you off with a downer, but that's a guy who we've just both worked with for years, and it hits a little close to home. But While We Wrestle will be back in action next weekend for the regular scheduled event. The main event will be a huge three-way dance with the winner of that facing Anthony Henry on June 25th, and the winner of that going on to Summer of Hate on July 30th to face Strychnine, if he is still the champion at that time, for the Why We Wrestle Heavyweight Championship. And the three-way dance will be Wild Billy Buck, the real Slim J, the new wrestling god, as some people are calling him now. I don't know what that's about, but I guess we'll find out more soon, maybe Saturday night. And then also Kevin Blue, the sneaky, snaky Kevin Blue, who has managed to worm his way all the way around the roster of Why We Wrestle into the top, but he just couldn't get it done against Strychnine, so now he's going for another opportunity. We'll see what happens on June 11th. As I said, that, and you can find out about the Shadow Jackson benefit information, the GoFundMe at the Why We Wrestle, Facebook.com/This Is Why We Wrestle, and Twitter at Why Do You Wrestle. So now that I got my plug out of the way, there'll be more plugs later, but that's what I'm involved in wrestling-wise. But the wrestling world has had a lot of topics coming up over this last week, generated a lot of controversy. You know, I know you said you had not really been following a lot of wrestling stuff, but are you familiar with anything that I'm talking about, Andrew?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
You have no clue. No, not an inkling, not a guess, not a hint, not a hunch.
No, what happened?
Well, there seems to be a bit of a divide amongst the wrestling generations. You know, it's like life is imitating art. With Marvel, we have the big Civil War, where Captain America and Iron Man are at each other's throats, and the world of professional wrestling is kind of seeing its own civil war between people of the older generation and people of the younger generation, and then there's some people like us who are kind of like stuck in the middle. So, you're not familiar with any of this whatsoever?
Are you talking about that match in Japan?
But of course.
That people are losing their fucking minds about?
Yes.
I saw a couple seconds of that, man, and I mean, I understand anybody that kind of wants to hate on it or whatever, but at the same time, the wrestling business has changed. You know, it's going to continue to change. You can't go backwards. It's just not going to happen. It's been said 1,000 times. You can't put the toothpaste back in the container. And that's what that event is booked for, and that's what the fans of that event go to see. Like, that's, you know, someone said to me, that's like having a deathmatch tournament, and nobody hit each other with shit. Like, I don't understand why these people are kind of surprised by it. But I mean, sure, it's probably too much, and I'm sure if I watched the whole match, I would hate it. But you know, there's no sense in bitching about it, really.
I think it is what it is. You know, like, if you're familiar with either of those two guys, I don't know what else you would have expected. That's what they do. You know, and there's so many different styles of wrestling now. You know, I try not to just be like, well, that fucking sucks because that's not what I like. Because, you know, there's clearly people that like it, and it's got its audience, and if they're out there getting paid and making money doing it, there's no right or wrong way to do this shit, because it's a variant of showbiz. So, you know, whatever you can do to sell tickets and create business and do well for yourself, if you're doing that, whether or not I'm a fan of it, it doesn't matter, because I'm not buying a fucking ticket. You know what I mean? It's like I'm over here worried about my shit and trying to do that. So I don't have time to bitch about what guys are doing in other promotions. I tried that crusade years ago, and you know what? It's futile, because the business is changing, and you got to roll with it, or you got to get run over. You got to figure out a way to still preserve what you like, and you know, if you can make that successful from a financial perspective. But if these guys are doing it, who fucking cares? Just tired of hearing that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. You know, if you don't like it, don't watch it. You know, the phrase "killing the business." It might be an overused phrase nowadays, because any of that type of killing has already been done. I mean, it's been murdered. Everyone knows it's a work. Everyone knows that what the deal is. You know, now that doesn't mean you have to go out there and during the show, you know, rub it in people's faces. But, and I'm sure there may have been instances of that happening at this show, but it's just not, I don't think it's a big deal. It's not the end of the world. And you know, like I said, again, that's what that tournament and that event, that's what it's for. That's what people that are paying to see it, whether it be, you know, buying a DVD, or downloading it or what have you, or going to the event itself, that's what they're expecting to see. And, you know, if anything, these guys have, you know, made a name for themselves and shook some stuff up. So, you know, kudos to them for that, because that's pretty tough to do especially outside of that WWE banner. So they're doing something right. I mean, they're getting some notoriety. Maybe they're making some cash. So, you know, who are we to shit all over them? Now maybe I'll watch it, and then maybe I'll watch it, and then I'll shit all over them.
I watched them with an open mind, trying to see what they were accomplishing, and not, you know, trying to apply my logic to it. I you know, enjoyed it just fine. But you know, if I was going to sit there and try to pick it apart as like a fucking talent developer or coach or whatever, you know, that I've worked at as in the past, you know, then that would be a different story. But I just tried to enjoy it for what it was, and I did. You know, like, not my cup of tea. It's not the type of wrestling I like to watch all the time, but it's the match that everybody's talking about, so I had to see it. You know, had to see what was going on. You got to stay at least current with what the hell is happening if you're trying to work in the industry, you know. But, like, so that's the basis of what this conversation is about, is that match. What I really have been interested and annoyed by is the discussion that has come out of it. Because it seems like a lot of fucking sticking your fingers in your ears and going, nana nana boo boo, stick your head in doo doo. From both sides, you know.
Not doo doo.
What's that smell?
Dookie. You said it was a no holds barred podcast.
You're goddamn right, I did. So you have this discussion coming out of it where it's, you know, the guys like Vader, he shits all over it, of course, and the internet just rips him a fucking asshole. Like, oh, okay, like, you might not agree with him, but Vader's been there and done that. You at least just could shake your head and say, oh, silly Vader, and move on with your life, instead of just like, I know, you know, like, allegedly, and I don't know the guy, and I was always a big mark for him as a kid, but, you know, he's got a reputation lately of being somewhat difficult on independent shows, so, but aside from that, just with this exchange, you know, they're just like ripping him a new asshole. It's like, hey, come on, you know, you're telling me you can't learn anything from Vader, like these young indie guys especially. I mean, like, fans, you're entitled to say whatever the hell you want. You buy a ticket, say whatever the fuck you want. But I'm specifically talking about the guys in the business, like, getting just so upset and butthurt about it. Like, you don't worry about it. Like, the old timers have always shit on the young style. Listen to them, see what you can get from it, if there's anything you can learn from them, and move on with your life. And if you can find a guy that's been there, done that, that's willing to sit down and talk to you and give you pointers and encouragement, as opposed to tearing you down, then that's all the better. But this whole, like, fuck you, you know, your time's passed and you should just shut the fuck up. No, he's entitled to his opinion too, just as much as you're entitled to yours. You know, that's the fucking internet generation. You know, I say that like the internet hasn't been around for 30 fucking years now, but the social media generation is what I mean. You know, it's just like, I don't understand why there can't be a civil discussion on this. It's like politics.
Wrestling is the new politics. It is kind of interesting just to see Vader have such a strong stance, considering it's not common practice to have a 400-pound man do a moonsault, especially 20 years ago. But he did.
And the old timers at that time were telling him he was fucking stupid and killing the business for doing it. You know, and I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong. I'm just saying it's not the first time that's ever happened. You know what I mean? And it's going to continue to happen. So do what you do. If you can make money from it, awesome. If you can learn how to do it better, even more power to you. So who fucking cares?
Hey, Rev, do me a favor.
There you go.
Where did this match originally take place?
Japan.
Okay. I have a question that I would like to ask both of you. Japan seems to be where some of the most off-the-wall poo-poo comes into play. Shit. And I understand the logic of the people like Vader who are decrying the match. I understand the logic of some of the younger guys, supposedly younger guys, who are saying, yeah, right, just because you can't do it, don't hate. And the one that has me thrown to this day was why people look at that match with such polarized opinions, but yet another match that took, I use that word match very effing loosely, between a Japanese wrestler and a freaking blow-up doll. And he sold for the doll. Why? I mean, people look at that and laugh, but they'll look at this and shred it. I don't get it. And have y'all seen the match to which I'm referring?
I've seen the clips of it. Yeah, and again, that was like, that's something that's more like, I'm like, what the fuck about? But I'm like, what the fuck about a lot of shit in Japan? So it's its own culture, and like, I'm not sure what the fuck they were trying to do with it. But I don't know enough about the landscape and everything to comment, except for as a guy on the outside, on the other side of the world. And as to say, from that perspective, it's like, what the fuck? But, it's a weird thing, because there's not really a lot of difference in some of the things that are beloved and some of the things that are hated. But, like, to me, if you're in the business, you never stop learning. So why would you just plug your fingers in your ears and shun the opportunity to get information from people who might be helpful because somebody hurt your feelings? Like, what the fuck, man? Come on, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But like, the business is a symbiote circle. And Joe Dombrowski, who's an announcer from up in the Northeast area, that I met years ago when he came down to Wildside and brought some guys from the Pittsburgh area down for some bookings there. And he wrote a great piece that I echoed. I was like trying to think of the perfect way to put this, and he did it better than I could have. And but ultimately what he was saying is wrestling is a symbiote circle. Like, the old generation needs the new generation because they carry on the business. Without them, there is no business. So if you don't have the young guys, if all you have is old guys who can't do it anymore, you don't have a fucking business. So you need those guys. And the young guys need the old guys too. They need them for guidance and to teach them. And, sometimes you don't learn how much until you get on down into the business. But, there has to be a two-way street of respect there. And if there's not, then the business doesn't thrive. And so we're spending all this time bitching and arguing at each other when really we're all in the same business and we all need each other to survive.
Understandable.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of the blow-up doll match but hate on this, high-flying athletic match, that seems kind of odd to me. Like, why would you like one and not the other? As far as stuff like that with the blow-up doll and wrestling kids and penis duplexes and all that, I'm not a fan of it. They're not getting any of my money, but that's me. So, and those guys probably don't care, and they really shouldn't. If I was doing something that somebody was bitching about, but I was, I believed in it and I was behind it and it was paying my bills, and somebody was bitching about it, I would be like, well, fuck that guy, because their opinion doesn't really matter to me. And I'm sure that's what these guys are thinking or saying. So, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like I said, that the cat's out of the bag, and I hate when guys rub it in people's faces, and when you're just pointing out that the business is a work as far as during the show and stuff like that. But if that wasn't the case, with people knowing, we wouldn't have this podcast. There wouldn't be any of the wrestling podcasts. There wouldn't be any of the documentaries and things such as that. So, there's no use complaining about it anymore.
Yeah, we got to accept it for what it is and try to preserve what we know and, the things that we think make it great. And that's what I'm focused on doing. I don't have time to sit around and bitch about what people are doing in other promotions. If they're having success, they're doing something right, good for them. I could sit and pick apart matches all day long. It does nothing I don't have time to devote to that, and it does nothing for me, and unless somebody's paying me to do it, then I got no desire, or I'm trying to help somebody out, something like that. But, so moving the wrestling discussion along, Andrew, you had a great weekend, checking out some of the Southern Bound NXT events. Discuss that for us, will you? Take us inside that experience. First of all, before you get started, I do think, like, as far as just, and this is not like kissing ass, because it probably does seem like it, but NXT is my favorite show just to sit down and watch. It's the one show I always make time for, because I feel like, and that's the thing, getting at, there's so many different brands and flavors of wrestling. Like, they're the one that does it closest to what I like, so that's the one I watch. I don't see how this is a hard discussion. So, Andrew, yes, tell us about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I do not watch a lot or have a desire to watch a lot, but I do find myself enjoying that one, and I can watch, pretty much watch it all the way through and not fast forward through a lot of stuff, and that I can't do that with any other wrestling product whatsoever. I kind of got the feeling, or get the feeling, that it has taken a little bit of a hit with as far as a lot of their guys being called up since maybe this time last year, and just maybe some other things. Maybe they had some better stories or better matches. Say from SummerSlam last year to WrestleMania, that time frame, they seem to be really hitting grand slams every chance they got. And not to say that they're not doing a great job now. Their business is up and down, and it has to be that way so you can appreciate those highs a little bit more. But I went to the show last night in Atlanta at Center Stage, and it was a pretty good show, especially for just a live event. Some of the matches were kind of basic, with the undercard, basic yet solid matches, but nothing too exciting. Just getting some of the younger guys some ring time. But there were a couple matches on that show, man, that were just top notch. For starters, our buddy Corey Hollis did get to work on the show, and he was the perfect 10, Ty Dillinger, and man, they had a hell of a little match, probably, I would say 8 to 9 minutes total. But it was very solid. Corey Hollis looked great, totally looked like he belonged, like he has, pretty much all of these opportunities had on the grander stages. And that Ty Dillinger, man, he's good. I know he's been around, and he's been in developmental a handful of times, and all around probably been there going on close to a decade, but he's got a good stick. Cut a little promo before. It sounded good, looks great, good in the ring. He's somebody to keep an eye on, I think. And the best match of the show, hands down, in my opinion, were, and to nobody's surprise, or shouldn't be at least, the Revival versus the American Alpha. We've talked about this before on the podcast, but Jesus Christ, man, these guys are fucking killing it. And it's not because, Dash Wilder is a former colleague of ours, if you will, our buddy from the Anarchy days, Stephen Walters. These guys are just fucking tearing it up, though, man. Both of them. And they're playing off each other. They're working well together. And the American Alphas are a better babyface team because of their work with the Revival, and the Revival's a better heel team because of their work with the Alphas. This match, solid bell to bell, almost 20 minutes, was just some amazing stuff. this match could have been on any pay-per-view the WWE has all year, and it would have belonged, and it was at a live event in front of a couple hundred people. So impressed with these guys doing tag team wrestling the way it's meant to be done and the way it used to be done, to where you don't see it executed this way really much anymore, and which is a huge fucking shame. But the match was just awesome, and I really believe if they keep this up and if they keep up the way they're working, even if it's with other teams, in 20, 30 years, there's going to be guys sitting around talking like this, saying, man, those guys are having some good matches, like the Revival and the American Alpha used to. If they don't do some crazy shit and break up these teams prematurely, because they have a hard on to do that a lot, for no reason. If they keep them together and keep these guys working, it's going to be one of those situations where future generations look back on them, like we look back on the Midnights and Rock and Rolls and the Brainbusters and the Rockers and the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs, those type of matches and things. And that's pretty high praise, if you ask me, because I definitely think these matches and the style that they're working will stand the test of time and be something that people talk about for years to come.
Yeah, I think so too. I am so happy to see like classic tag team wrestling. I mean, with a modern twist, the in-ring action is very fast and furious, but they know exactly how to do it and when. I'm happy to see this feud, this rivalry with those guys, where they just bring out the best in each other. Those are special when you see them, and you know it automatically. You can always pinpoint it, and it's been no different with these guys. Now, I'm interested to see what the upcoming brand split thing's going to do. I do hope, if both of them get called up, that they end up on the same roster, so that the world can see this amazing tag team wrestling, and that it still works when done right. And that you can have your flips and everything else that you want to do, and that's fine. But as long as you give me a spot for that good old fashioned tag team wrestling like they're doing, then I'm a happy camper as a fan.
Yeah, and the crowd reaction, which the crowd was really hot all night. That's another thing NXT really has going. They really have a strong, loyal fan base, which helps any show. But the crowd was just on fire for this tag match. They kept them into it 100% of the time, and they did a couple things. I won't go into details. Hopefully, it would be we would see some of this stuff maybe in the upcoming takeover event, because they are facing each other in a rematch from the NXT Takeover Dallas match, which is the best tag match in 20 years. But they did a couple things, man, that just absolutely blew my mind at how smart and how well executed, and the timing of them. Not a bunch of flips and not crazy athleticism, even though they're definitely athletes. Just such good storytelling and the babyface fighting, trying to get a tag, trying to get a partner in there to keep the match alive, and the heels just keeping them in their corner and cutting them off from the tag. It was just so fucking beautiful. It makes you remember why you love wrestling.
Can't think of any higher praise than that. So, we're glad, and how did it feel to be on the other side of the guardrail for the first time in a while?
Oh, it was the first time, and I really don't think I've been to a show, especially of that magnitude, since the WrestleMania in Atlanta, which I wasn't even, I was actually a part of, so I wasn't even on the other side of the guardrail. Before that, it was, I honestly can't even remember. Maybe the WrestleMania in Orlando, so that was, a good 8 years ago. Especially a bigger show like a WWE product, even though it was NXT and it was in a smaller venue. But, it was different. It's hard. I think you can understand where I'm coming from, but it's hard to be as much of a fan as you were before you got in the business, or before you were bitter and didn't love the business as much as you used to. But it's fun to see what the crowd's reacting to and how they're reacting to certain things. But then you have a match like that, for starters, where you really get to truly be involved and invested and become a real fan again and enjoy it. And then there were other things, Nakamura was on the show, and, I've only seen a handful of his matches. I know he's good, and I know he's the hot shit, but, man, that guy was over. And he truly, he has something where he's truly special. And you can see it, and you can feel it, and you can sense it, and it's really cool to see live in person. Excuse me. And Samoa Joe and Finn Balor were in the main event, and they had a hell of a match. Really solid stuff. Not trying to kill each other. They have a big match this week as well, but really, really good shit. Really, really fun time. Really enjoyed going, and glad I went.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's weird. I haven't been to a show in quite a while. I try not to go to shows, being in the business, unless somebody invites me specifically and is just insistent on it. I think I went to the TNA show in Nashville when White Trash wrestled Tracy Brooks in the dark match, and him and Andrew insisted that we come up for that. So, they comped us in and everything, and that was a fun time. But it's just hard. I don't think I've paid for a show since I've been in the business, because, it's just one of those things. I can watch it on TV. I'm worried about what I'm doing, and sometimes you got to do that to network and shit. But I don't know. It still feels awkward. Unless somebody specifically asked me to be there, I just feel like I'm in the fucking way.
Oh, I agree, but you know damn well I didn't pay for that shit. I'm Andrew Alexander. Shit, I got some comp.
Oh yeah. No. Hey, I didn't even think that you did.
Yeah, and our friend, the Strong Style Psycho Tank, we made the trip down, so it was good. It was good. We got to hang out afterwards and go eat with Corey, and John Schuyler was there, and Franklin Duff, former Anarchy owner, was there, and we all went out and hung out and watched the UFC fights, and got to see that big announcement of Brock Lesnar returning, which was just kind of what the fuck. If you're a UFC fan or just a fan in general, that's pretty big news.
Small world. Well, I'm looking at the clock. Say what?
No, go ahead.
Hello? Oh, I'm looking at the clock here, and I think you're owing us a little bit of the story here from your field assignment. So what's the deal, pal?
The field assignment. Oh, man, what a mess. Well, let's see. Don't want to go too much backstory, I don't guess. But basically, I think every guy has, that one chick that, I don't know, they probably have more than one, maybe different time frames in life. But you get one of those girls where you're like, I just have to have sex with this woman. I can't continue to live unless I'm inside this person just one time, because she's so hot. There's not even an emotional attachment. There's not even a need to be around them or be with them. You're just like, fuck, this chick is hot, and she talks to me and acknowledges my existence. So of course I want to put my dick in her. We've all had that chick, right?
Yep.
I would hope so. So I've known this chick for a couple years, and she's hot in not the type of girl you take home to mom, just a hot porn star who she wears way too much makeup, and her body's fucking crazy, and she just has that slutty look. But she's just, I don't know, just right up my alley. You know my alley, Dan.
I'm well aware. You have a type.
you've seen The Alley, and this chick is like, she lives in the alley she lives in the last house on the left.
Oh.
And, you know, I've known her a long time. There's always been, like, flirting and all this stuff, and even just flat out like, oh, let's get together. Okay, cool, let's do it. But, you know, for whatever reason, shit just never happens. Well, I got a call. And it was, hey, going out with friends, you know, afterwards we should meet up. And it's one of those I really felt, and this is where my own brain and my own pride gets in the way, but I really felt that it was one of those situations where it was like, okay, she's telling me that she's going out and maybe we'll meet up, but if she goes out and meets pretty much anybody on the planet, I'm shit out of luck. Like, I'll totally be replaced, but I'm the backup. Like, yeah, I'm going out, and if I don't score any other random dick, I'll let you know.
If I don't get top shelf dick, I'll settle for this middle shelf dick in the Fred Rogers sweater.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that upsets me. It upsets me is just because I got some top shelf dick. I can't be treated like no middle shelf dick. This is TSB over here. But that's really how I took it. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I want to blow her off. I want her to text me and I want to say, oh, sorry, I'm busy. Because I want to have that control. I want to have that power. I want to do that for men everywhere. For you, for Fast Eddie, for everybody. But then I think of them titties. And I lose my grip. So I'm sitting around. I blow off everything I'm doing. I blow off podcasting. I blow off all this shit. And while I do that, I feel bad. I feel bad about myself, that I did that to myself. I feel like I let myself down. So, oh man, I'm going to hell. Some chick sends me a text, blah, 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 long story short. She says, hey, let's get together. I say, okay, fine, I'm on my way. This is about 12:30-ish a.m. So I go to this chick's house, and part of me is I'm into it, but I'm also kind of bummed out, you know, because I was expecting WrestleMania, and I'm getting some fucking Extreme Rules. But I'm still going to have a good time. So I'm there, and we're just hanging out, bullshitting a little bit. And I get the text. From fucking WrestleMania. Hey, on my way back, come over to my place right now. I'm like, oh, fuck. So how do I get out of this situation? I got a chick who's obviously going to fuck me, who's obviously going to just let me do whatever the fuck I want. But I got the top dog, the top shelf pussy, the TSP, just text me. So what do I do? Now, here's my thought, Dan, and you back me up. You tell me the truth. You shoot straight with me. Don't spare my feelings. 2 ways I could handle it. There were 3 ways. I could ignore the text. I could have sex with the woman with the loose morals that has invited me over to her home, and I could call it a night. Or I could make up some sort of lie, get out of her home, and go have sex with the really hot chick that I've been wanting for years. Or I can tell the truth and say, hey, I just want us to be cool, and I don't want you to think I'm a scumbag. So here's the deal. This chick that I've wanted to fuck for a really long time just texted me. So how about I go fuck her, and maybe if I got the strength, I come back and fuck you. Worst case scenario, I come over tomorrow and fuck you. Now, I know that sounds horrible, but is the truth not better? Is that not the right road to take in this situation?
I mean, Depending on the arrangement, yeah.
Well, the arrangement is clear. The arrangement is very clear. The
what I'm
arrangement
saying.
is, yeah. So you think it would be okay to tell the truth and say, "Hey, I got to go fuck this chick, but I'll be back one day for you, sweetheart."
In this particular instance, yes.
Well, good, because that's exactly what I did. And I wrestled with it, but I said, you know what? You have a long-standing history of honesty. You don't bullshit these women. If you did, you could be seen as wrong. You could be seen as a womanizer. You know, I could be called a lot of things. I could be called a whore. I could be called a lot of things. But like a womanizer, a liar, I can't be called these things. That's not me. It's not accurate description. So I tell her, and you know how she took it? She took it pretty well. She said, "Oh yeah, I understand. Just come back by." And I'm thinking in my head, no, that was too easy. This isn't going to end well for me. That was way too easy. Like, it shouldn't have been that easy, despite the fact that women everywhere are always like, why isn't the guy honest with me? Why aren't guys honest with me? I'm as honest as can be. I'm like, look, I've got to fuck this girl. Like, I can't sleep at night until I fuck this girl. So she tells me to go. So I go. Now, by this point, with the debating and the speaking and the telling of the truth, it's gotten late. It's pushing. It's well past 2 a.m. And I'm not as young as I once was, as we all know. But I finally make it over to this chick's place. So, and I don't know why she didn't take care of these things before I got there. But when I get there, she's kind of on me. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, well, let me smoke a cigarette first. You know what I like about that sentence? I hate the cigarette smoking, but I love the word first. Let me smoke a cigarette first, implying that there's something coming after the smoking of the cigarette. So I'm excited. I'm very excited. I mean, I'm ready to go. I feel like I'm 19 again, and I'm loving it. That's when she drops this on me. Let me take a shower. I'm like, what are you talking about? Take a shower. Take a shower afterwards. She goes, no, let me take a quick shower. It won't take 5 minutes. Let me take a shower. So she jumps in the shower. Now, call me crazy, but why the fuck would you want to take a shower before having some guy that's going to do filthy things to you that he's going to talk about on a podcast live for the world to hear? Why would you take a shower first? You know why, Dan? Probably because you fucked some other guy before you had me come over, and that's just not cool.
Ding, 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 ding. You go to the bonus round.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go to the bonus round. You got that one dead solid on it.
I mean, at least I had the decency to tell mine that I would come back. That I had to put this hot chick first. And I mean, that was just fucking with my mind. I'm like, man, because that's the only explanation. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I mean, maybe you're out there, you went to some discotheque, and you're dancing dance fever and shit, and getting all hot and sweaty. Maybe you don't feel as clean as you want to. Maybe. But my mind is just playing tricks on me, and I'm just fucked up thinking about this. So she comes out, and I'm excited. I'm still hanging in there. I'm like, well, I got to do it. I got to push through. And then she just does something that I don't care for. I don't care for at all. She turns the lights off. I don't care for that. I'm a very visual person. Very visual person. I mean, am I alone? Am I alone in this thing? I mean, and this chick's hot. This ain't some girl that I've got to like squint my eyes and pretend it's somebody else. This chick is some top shelf pussy. But she turns the light off. I can't see shit. I can't even see my hand in front of my face. I'm like, what the fuck? So she comes over. She's all naked and stuff. But who the fuck knows if she is? Because I can't even see anything. So we start going at it. And needless to say, I am not as excited as I was 30 minutes prior. I did not feel 19 years old again. I felt 32, which is the age I am currently. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm giving myself a pep talk. I'm thinking, no, you can't blow this shit. You have finally won the Royal Rumble, and you're main eventing WrestleMania, and you're going to come out here and choke in front of all these fans? You're going to go on this podcast and tell this story to people and choke like this with this hot chick that you've been dying to fuck for years? That's what you're going to do? Yes, gentlemen, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly word for word what I did.
Oh.
But wait.
There's more.
There's more. Because as I lay there in disgust with myself, in the pitch black, blacker than 2 in the morning. I mean, by this time it's like 5 in the morning. I'm exhausted. I'm ill. I'm very upset at myself. And I'm telling myself that this is punishment from God because I left some chick all hot and bothered to come bang this chick. And that shit is wrong. Like, that was wrong of me to do. But I did it. I sacrificed. And now this is my punishment. This is karma. But I say, no, you got to put that shit out of your head. You got to forget that shit, and you got to perform like a champion. So I'm like, no, it ain't over. It ain't over. And I start making a comeback. And I'm coming back. And it's going, I'm like, okay, we're getting there. It's going well. So then some good shit starts happening. And then that comeback was just blown, and it was just fucking over. And I was right back to where I was 5 minutes before that, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened to me? So I'm laying there in the pitch black again, pissed off. And by this time, it's got to be like 6 in the morning. Sun's coming out. I'm dead. So I'm talking to myself again. I'm like, this shit ain't going to fly, because this is the type of girl and this is the type of situation that you put yourself in. You're too old for this shit to begin with, but you put yourself in the situation, you're never going to get a repeat at bat. You're never going to get in this position again. So you get the fuck up, literally, and you do this. So that's exactly what I did. For you, for Fast Eddie, for all of our listeners. I said, I ain't going out like that. I ain't no punk bitch. I'm on an award-winning podcast. I'm going to tell this story. So let's do this. So I come in. After that double heat, I come back in hot. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm ready. I start going, and it's going well. It's going very well. For about 90 seconds. And then it's not going so well anymore. And the shit is just over. It just ends like fucking main event of WrestleMania. You think you're going to have a hot finish. It's goddamn disqualification. Got to tune in the next night on Raw to see what happens. And at this point, I said, fuck this. At this point, I'm just making a damn fool out of myself. Maybe I can get a rematch, even though most likely I'm not going to. But if I can collect myself, get that rematch, maybe then I can perform at the level that I'm accustomed to. So I go to sleep, which I'm not a fan of anyway. I don't know if we discussed that or not. I'm sure Dan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a fan. Huh?
We have. Yes, we have.
Yeah, I go to sleep, stranger's house, not my bed, and the woman's there. It's a combination of things I don't like. A whole lot of stuff I don't like. I'm very spoiled. I'm very set in my ways. And I wake up, and my first thought is, okay, can you do this? It's the next, you slept for about 3 hours, you're good to go. And she goes, well, I got some stuff to do. I got to get going. I'll see you later. And I was kicked out so fast, make your head spin. And I made goddamn fool out of myself, and it was horrible. So this edition of Fuck or Fail, even though there was, yes, some fucking, and if you were just some some fucking jobber who never got laid ever, you might be satisfied with it. You might even be happy. You might consider it a fuck. But I gotta be honest with myself and search within and say that this was a total fucking fail, and I'm going to hell, and I've got to make changes in my damn life.
Well, we appreciate your honesty. Many people could have fabricated that story, but no, you're hitting them with the honest truth here on the Midnight Black Mass, and that's about going to wrap it up here. We're coming towards the end of this. I just want to
now,
get...
Wait a second. I'm not a total bitch.
By all means.
I went home and took a shower, because that's what you do after you at least attempt to fuck somebody. You take a shower. Of course, you should have did it before somebody came to your fucking house, because they can put two and two together. I'm a smart man. But I went home, I took a shower, I texted the first chick that I left hanging at 1:32 in the morning, said, "Hey, you awake?" Said, "Yeah." Said, "Okay, cool, I'm on my way." And I went and fucked that chick, and I performed like it was fucking SummerSlam. It was a home run. I did great. I was completely satisfied. And then I left, and I said, "God, why have you done this to me? Why could I fuck this C-rate bitch like a fucking champion, but I had the top-notch, the number one on my hit list. I had her, and I didn't do shit. Why? Why have you forsaken me?" I still don't know the answer, but that happened. So
I know the answer.
I'm not a total chump.
I know the answer. You put too much pressure on yourself with the TNP, but when things started to unravel, you took the little things and they compounded your brain. Instead of saying, "Screw it, let's have fun," the analytical side of your brain is going, "Okay, so I'm not top dog in this chain of events. I'm following somebody. I'm following the warm-up match."
Yeah, I mean, that's, and I know you don't know me quite as well,
right,
but I've only got one side of my brain. It's all analytical. I overthink everything.
I've got the same problem. I have the same problem. Lo and behold, the shower, yeah, that's going to make me sit back and go, well, how many has she banged tonight? And lo and behold.
Yeah, I mean, that's one situation I'd rather be the curtain jerker than the main eventer.
Exactly. I mean, look, I don't want to be the caboose on that train. I'm the steam engine.
Well,
and to take
that's my story, and I don't know. I gotta do something with myself, gentlemen. I'm too old for this mess.
You know the trick? You were able to have fun with the other girl. With the first one,
she didn't matter.
So it's still fun.
Yeah, I know, but she didn't matter. So I was relaxed. I was cool, calm, and collective. I knew that she was nothing more than a cheap storage unit for my cock.
And?
But who knows? I mean, I'll still work on getting back to the main event, but I don't like my odds. The Booker's done seen what I can do, and he ain't pushing me no more.
You're a champion, Andrew. You will come back from this. It's just a minor setback. All good champions take a beating from time to time. It's just you need to find yourself. I need to become your manager in real life as well. To motivate you and run you through the woods of the compound. You're a killer. You're a killer.
I should have called you and put you on speakerphone and been like, "I need some help."
Get him, Andrew. Make him suffer.
Okay, that's funny.
I don't think we're going to top that, folks, so we're going to sign off for the evening. Going to be a lot of places over the summer, but rather than go through them individually, just follow me on social media at Dragons Rejects on Twitter, on Facebook, Rev Dan the Dragon Wilson, Potty Humor Network, YouTube.com/Potty Humor, Facebook.com/Potty Humor. Andrew, I have a feeling I know where they can find you, but why don't you tell them?
No fucking where.
Fast Eddie, any plugs before get out of the way before we say goodbye?
Let me go ahead and do this real quick. Live programming will resume on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, Back to Basics. During the first hour, we're going to be joined by the King of the Southeast, Francisco Chiazzo, and during the second hour by the Phenom Phil Stamper. We got a lot of ground we're going to cover this coming Tuesday night. Remember, the To Be Determined show on Wednesday, Shooters Gallery on Thursday. Keep your eyes open on BeyondRingside.com, and for me personally, FastEddieLane.com. Layne. Spell it right. Thanks for playing. Okay? Cool. Thanks. Get it? Got it? Good. Go away.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us once again, and we'll be back next week with another live edition of the Midnight Black Mass. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold. For Andrew Alexander and Fast Eddie Lane, this is the Rev, and we're out.